Hello, everyone. This is Deb Helfrich, hashtag redheaded She-Hulk. This is just flat out complete improv, creativity, vimproving, in what I call the Chappelle Challenge. Bits that I'd just be honored if he one day got to see. I'm thinking all of them. Just throw a little Dave Chappelle mention in there and let them stream him. Dave. I'm the next Anthony Bourdain. On the cusp. This job is truthfully all I can do right now. I am 1 in 7 billion at it. And that rarity, scarcity, that nobody else can replicate this, IP comes through loving every monkey mind chatter that crosses my mind. Loving every monkey mind chatter that crosses my mind. You know what it feels like. And you know, well, it hurts when others can't keep up with you. I got that in Comedians with Cars at the coffee shop. I get much more data from people, and I process it deeply, and I notice and observe a lot of embodiment and feelings and emotions. So I play around with, being a strong person that's going to demolish racism, and I am. But right now, like right up front, I just want to have some friends and have some fun and stuff, while not stepping away from the fact that I know things about how humans operate that I'm leaving a map to come back to when I'm getting, the small team of people that I need to pull this into a more linear format. For me, I'm matrixed. I'm my whole memory banks. Because inside, as a memory's coming out and I'm saying a few words, I'm also seeing it in technicolor and having sense memories and this and that, and visions and some audios and maybe a taste or smell. My memory's got all that stuff going on. And I'm very fluent with that. We mostly prune those neurons. We're not trained to do it in our culture, to stay hyper aware of our environment. And you only retain that if it's literally just you. If you are isolated, and I only ever operated enough to be completely invisible. My family of origin, my community of origin throughout my whole life, right? And the fucking tech singularity came for me. Fucking credit card terminators. They robocall you 40 times a week. How is anyone not going to get fired from their job? What if they're a driver in a pandemic? What if they're a driver in a pandemic? cannot keep letting capitalism harm people. And capitalism only seems to appear to work, and it lets only those who see how it's rigged. So much pro bono going on. Raising our kids is showing everyone. You can't separate that out. That we have the costs to everyone's mental health and out familying our kids. So women have to be forced to go back to work in a few weeks. Why the election's close. Nobody has enough brain power because of childhood development that could have been every intention of the most great family right next door. They could have had a bully. There's so many levels of environments, or had one teacher who they really respected and who at one point they saw something that shocked them, and it took away any curiosity in people. Telling stories about the human condition. Now, I think that was hypothetical, because I was in a story in my mind of a little boy. I don't think it was autobiographical. I do not have a direct memory. I'd tell you if I did. I saw in my mind a van trip we took to Florida with the church group. It's just a bizarre. Like, how did I get forced into all that? I have no idea. But I was always shotgun, and there's a big mobile home and then a second van. Really isolated from the bulk of the kids the whole time. So we were talking about seeing something from an adult that I don't know. Mm-mm. I mean, I think just overall, yeah. Like, again, nothing bad happened. But nothing happened. And I just went and sat in the apartment, sat in the shotgun. No one really talked to me. I wasn't really part of things. I mean, the adults knew I was there. The adults appeared to assume I was okay being by myself all the time. So this whole thing, I just lived a life not being seen. And I think it's easy for people who get seen. These are the ones going around. And so it's equal opportunity in most people, and it's all a personal problem. There are certain developmental switches and pulleys and levers that have to come on, that people who retain this sort of optimal body-brain interaction find life there isn't a word. So this is back to, Nassim Taleb having to go with anti-fragility. So see, he's either oring it from fragility to anti-fragility, but really actual anti-fragility demands an even better word than just anti. Supra-flexibility. fragile, and flexible. It's supra. The preface is supra. S-U-P-R-A. Is I get to be the little redheaded girl who gives Carl Gustav Jung collective supraconscious envy. You know, Freud was just guessing about the subconscious, y'all. He's just smoking a cigar. Well, ingesting cannabis seems to be a better tool for having a clear framework of our subconscious and operating it, improving it, and then coming back and building a better model and heuristics. The penis envy. So I started this whole thing and just went 11-11, wanting to overthrow math, wanting to point out that, well, I am going to be the little redhead girl, she's Socrates, who gets known for 1 + 1 = 3. 1 man + 1 woman equals a third baby. That is one of the most powerful heuristics you can ever imagine. It leads to evolutionary logic. So that's the math of life, 1 + 1 = 3. And that leads to evolutionary logic, which is the correct answer to the chicken versus egg dilemma. It's not a dilemma. We know precisely which one came first. And then the reality that enslavement is believing that the individual is responsible for everything and letting the environment be invisible. U cubed. Body, brain, and soul we have. We might call it a spirit, oh yes. I say that those can be explained as a biofield. But beyond the biofield, beyond body-brain biofield, is the environment. And the environment is stronger and more robust and more present and non-temporal and non-local, but exceedingly temporal and exceedingly local at the very, very, very same time. You are a trillionaire of cells, but the environment is a zillionaire of input. And depending on how fearful you are and how secure you are, you have no conscious control over what's going on. You are left alone for a decade. The world speeds up and you slow down, way down, because of mold. You lose the capacity to do daily admin while you gain the capacity to do complex complications and scenarios of how to get well and get out of this ever deepening hole of inability to meet the constant stream of demands of the external world that are illogical. Now, they're rational. How we got here, we can see. I don't quite even clearly see where we could have had any different outcome. I think the full state of play, even the colonialization was wrong. I don't know how to go I just want to explain what happened. To go and spend the processing power to figure out something like, could it have went differently? It could. I want to put that processing into right now. How do I make it go differently? And to use that kind of processing power, you do hibernate. You need a great deal of sensory deprivation. But then when you are in a situation of immense climactic change, immense civilization change, you do your hibernation, you're ready to go, you go out in the world, and ain't no snow. I love the fable. It's so deep of having spent the first 49 years of my life in a polar bear body and evolving to be a giraffe. But in the Pacific Northwest winter, with the mold and mildew, I lose my mind. And that this is now accompanied by financial stress. Should we allow robocalls and credit card debt to kill a human? Brené Brown, holla. I got some strategies on vulnerability. It's not as hard as it seems, because the key is you got to keep going. So, the routine of the morning pages, right? Well, when it comes to healing, we've all been told such lies, and we've all been so diminished, and it has been so intractable, and it has been so constant. And the odds of survival, if we didn't think like everyone else, it seemed too immense. So this process of always believing in yourself, when you are ill and your body is, that I think is the key. Because always believing in yourself when you think you are ill and you're not able to do something because you are physically ill. Because if you're in that space, and it doesn't have to even be conscious, but if you know something's wrong, you're always doing your best. And so many very things are wrong in a world that is so full of toxic pollution and so overstressed and so in 2020's too fucking much. The basics of admin of apps, and they don't integrate, but everyone can work online. It's easy, and there is a first adopter blind spot. These motherfuckers cannot see what they can't see. And very quickly, there's only so much human attention for anything. So, back to when we had 3 TV networks. So, you had your block, your processing limits of primetime TV, right? It was 3 hours, 5 days a week. 15 hours of prime time. That would, by convention and by mystique, be sometimes divided into 2 half hours. maybe the first, sometimes the second, never the third. That cryptography is something I have for the philosophical hypothesis of bioelectricity. And so all of this creativity is around that framework that I am certain I know to a philosophical degree with the measurement tools I have at my disposal. And I know how to shift the transmission of my brain into subconscious mode and use extra processing power. It will not happen if my body is in pain, if I feel, until today, fear, there's so much fear, there's like literally no day without fear. It's what every human is basically experiencing in 2020. Come on, every human. Nigeria. Every human is co-experiencing trauma of 2020. And then all of us were at all of our various different spots. I was at the edge of the ridge at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And I have climbed up so far. But then I reached this little section where I'm now like able to talk to people, but I'm in quicksand. Like this is just quicksand. There's just this so much height. Now I'm in quicksand. You can explain it to people. People are like, well, we see you really truly did come from the bottom of the Grand Canyon. You can do this, right? Or just, well, we don't know what to do. I do not understand, because other people's attention spans are mysteries to me, and others people's bandwidth limitations. And as a thought leader, life coach, writer, blog writer, podcaster, as a person, I'm supposed to like meet all these lowest common denominator things for what I do to be popular. Back to Scott Adams. Brevity is the key to writing. On a white page in 2D black text. On video. With sound and sight. Communication should be more complex. And I just like to play with all those dimensions mindfully and in a way that I'm very conscious of, that I can talk about being human in a different way that I'm sure applies to everyone. The basic principles. I think my style of entertainment appeals to a certain audience that's probably neurodiverse. I should lean into that, which I do. It just, again, diversity, the word, has been co-opted by corporate diversity and inclusion stuff. And that premises, the institution is correct, and it sort of brings in otherness versus, I mean, this is the whole languaging of the people. It really is not the English words, but the premises of the corporate usage of the words, that context. And so this otherness is something we can't have in neuro. So it sounds all really great, but calling people diverse just means you're not, places where you're not the same. So neurodiversity, I don't like it. I mean, no brain is the same. Some brains have only been nurtured to work in a simple way, in a more direct way, in a more linear way. But not mine. My brain had to churn in a lot of different dimensions because I didn't have the safety of feeling, touch. I had a number of neglect dimensions in my childhood that I find I have no emotionality about. They were environmental things that were unseen, were unintended. And maybe one of them or two of them or just the combinations of them in my specific timing of when they happen, in my capacity to carry a lot of weight, my capacity to live without other human companions. It's so valuable to humanity. It's so valuable to humanity. It's so valuable to humanity to have this record of an outlier. And so basically what my performance is I talk about all of the things I've read from the internet of trying to heal myself, the Parkinson's interlude, feeling the curiosity of like telepathy, but having no experience of it, like is like certain as I was with God. Nah. But still with the philosophical mind, like I want to hear what they got to say about this. And then realizing I only didn't experience it because I ain't no more peoples around. And peoples weren't picking up my broadcast that I was telepathizing, and nobody was telepathizing about me. In a nutshell, that's what has caused. Fritzing, frazzling, something that must be dealt with, something you simply, you're not going to want to, I can't keep flashing my glasses at you when we're both so obviously aware of it. Less obviously aware of the standardness of this, although it goes sometimes, and you might prefer it, who knows. But we're basically on point here, whereas if I did that one move again, it's so distracting. We spend so much of our brain power on what we're seeing, and if it is distracting, so much brain power on what we're listening to and translating, and so much of our brain power, so many places, that the way Western medicine is, it's this one thing. We figured this out, and it's like that forevermore, and it's like that for everyone, and it's never like that in combination with anything else. That's what's gone wrong with Western medicine. Add to the fact that the outcomes are so poor. Everyone thinks that there's just so much money to be made, that they do so much R&D, which costs so much more money, which brings so many more layers of managed care, which brings so many more options that almost do nothing, which puts so much more pressure on your own liver, which puts so much more pressure on your physiology. It is just a freaking nightmare. And you can stay alive to 51 completely outside the Western medicine tradition. And you can self-hack your own cannabis recipe. And you can figure out how to stay alive when nobody's around, when nobody hears you fall. And you say that on LinkedIn, and somebody reads it and has no emotionality associated with it, that you've fallen. Nobody's heard. And you're saying, I'm falling. Nobody's hearing me. The person's hearing you, but not comprehending you. That's what social media has done to us. People just hearing, but no comprehension. And it's distanced us entirely from actions. The actions are to get rid of the notifications or to thank the person for liking your post. The actions are all admin. The feelings, the touch, the deep understanding, the intellectual frisson of how could that be? Tell me more. It's going extinct. Only the rich can afford that kind of time. Naval. I'm scared to death. Everyone is. Everyone is. And this is such a good bit. Whenever I really intensely feel something in this state, because I am in control, it's a universal feeling. I'm channeling my universal feelings through my specific experiences and trying to process them and doing a damn good job. There's no end there in just talking it out. There might be additional different dopamine if you talk to another person, but the talking therapies in and of themselves do not release the stored waveforms of unprocessed emotions. The tremoring matters a lot. Now, I don't know, is this 4? I don't know, but we're going to hit it 33 and say this is enough. Let's not continue harming your body, because this is an intense burst of energy. Performance makes you feel alive. And I need this performance to stay alive. And then a lot of rest and recuperations and marinations and practice theoretically for the next one. So I'm asking you to patron my performance. Hashtag redheaded She-Hulk. This has been Deb Helfrich. We'll do as close as we can to a Pippin squared. Still down with the 2, even though 1 + 1 = 3 is the equation I'm going to be famous for. Second was the name of my first book. Zanzi was named second for just a couple of days. I don't think I even sold 10 of them books. Why am I so alone in the world?